Hello, this is Pam. Today we're going to be talking about the mindset of a wellness champion. This is probably the most important topic in the Live Disease Free plan because it doesn't matter what I teach if it does not line up with your beliefs, your belief systems, then you won't implement it and then you will not have the success that you want. So, mindset is really, really important for anything that we want to accomplish in life, any types of goals that we have. So, this is the part number 4 of a several part series explaining the Live Disease Free plan. And the Live Disease Free plan is what we have used to recover from incurable chronic diseases. I was diagnosed with MS over 30 years ago, and I've been able to live MS free from what I have learned through this process of the Live Disease Free plan. So, the first part was the Live Disease Free diet. And that, of course, we talked about that. Go listen to the replay if you haven't watched it yet. And in that video, I talked about why we follow the Live Disease Free diet. What is the purpose? What benefits? What improvements do we have? Why does it work? And what the guidelines are. Step number 2 was to support the body. And this is in the Live Disease Free plan, supporting the body. So the diet and supporting the body are the 2 steps that we have to do to get ready to treat the infections that are causing chronic disease. And so as we are getting ready, we start to notice symptom improvement. So the second part was to support the body. And if you haven't watched that video, then go back and watch it. And this is where we do all kinds of things to make sure we're sleeping well and we're opening up detox pathways. We're supporting our physiology. So we're building ourselves up because we've been infected with these different types of parasites, infections for years. And so we need to support our body before we start treating. The treatments will work so much better when we do that. I can see everybody's joining. That's awesome. So then the third step was minimizing our toxic load. And we live in a very different time than 50 years ago. We have things like wireless radiation, and we used to deal with 3G and 4G, and now we have 5G, and we have this dimming of the sun where they are spraying particulates into the atmosphere. So there are things in our water, our food, and our air that are, and also I talked about our personal chemical factory, which are these infections in our body. And I talked all about how to minimize that and becoming aware of that. That was last week. So that would have been step number 3. Step number 4 is to have the mindset of a wellness champion. And we're going to talk about a couple of really powerful topics. I want you to be really honest with yourself. And if you have a moment, grab a piece of paper and a pen. And I want you to start. Some of these things, if you want to share, go ahead and share in the comments section. But some of it, I want you to start to really reflect yourself. This is going to be not just me talking, but I want you to, if something hits home to you, give me a thumbs up or whatever, but write down, maybe there's certain limiting beliefs that come to your mind when I'm talking about this. But this is truly, like, it is so huge. It's like our whole life, like our successes, not just in our health, but in our finances, in our relationships, in everything. It has to do with our belief system. And so much of what we're doing is subconscious. We think we're making all our choices and all our decisions, but we're not. And so if we're not happy, like, some of our beliefs are great and we want to keep them, but we're looking today, we're going to go hunting for limiting beliefs. So a couple of things that I had to change early on was, number 1, I'm from the generation that if you get sick, you go to your doctor and they fix you. And that's what I thought in my head. And I had never really been sick before I was diagnosed with MS. But when I became ill, when I lost all the vision in my left eye and I had tingling and weakness in my legs and I had terrible headaches and insomnia and I was so tired, I went to the doctors thinking that the experts, the neurologists, thinking they were going to cure me, they were going to heal me. And I learned very quickly that they did not know what was causing the MS and there was no cure. So instead of just what I had, my belief was that when you get sick, you go to your doctor and they cure you, they heal you. And I learned very early on that if I kept that belief, I would be in a wheelchair because that's what they told me what would happen. They gave me no hope for cure. They said I become completely disabled in time. Sometimes MS hits people quickly, sometimes it's more slowly. But as the experts, that was it. This was my life. And so at the very, very, very start, the day that I was diagnosed, of course, I was devastated. I was bawling. I thought my life was over. But I really believe God's hand was in my life. And I really begged for a lot of help. And I prayed and prayed and begged for help. And I'll share what has happened in that time. So my first limiting belief was that, gee, the doctors don't know everything. And, like it's my health and maybe I have to take responsibility for my health. So that was the real first one. And another one was that I had to invest in my health. So I live in Canada and we have a healthcare system that's paid for by our tax dollars, but it's very limited. It's literally like, it just follows a very limited approach to healthcare. It's like, if you get a sore throat and you get tonsillitis, bronchitis, you get antibiotics, or bladder infection, you get antibiotics. If you have pain, then, or some kind of autoimmune disease, then you're supposed to use some type of anti-inflammatory, or immune suppressive maintenance drug for the rest of your life and live with your chronic disease. So I learned that if I wanted to get well, I had to step out of that system and I had to actually start to take on a whole different belief about health and about investing in my health. So those were two big ones for me. And we're going to start with intention and why, and then we're going to go to limiting beliefs. So when we become diagnosed with chronic disease, it is devastating. And a lot of us, we basically feel that this is, we're losing our hope and our life, and we're not going to be able to do the things that we want to do. And then in time, the disease makes us become more and more disabled. And so we are not able to do all the things we love to do. We're not able to go for hikes and go for walks, and we might feel awful sometimes. So we stay home a lot. We become a homebody. And we just find that our world gets smaller and smaller. We lose friendships, we lose friends, we're not socializing, we're more depressed, right? Anxiety and depression are a really big part of chronic disease. And so our world becomes smaller and we kind of settle and we kind of become a victim very often, right? Because we really don't have hope. And so in order to recover, in order to get our life back, we have to change that. We have to work on our mindset. We have to start to build that really strong why. Why do I have to beat this? Right? So a lot of our dreams and hopes, we felt like they were squashed a long time ago. But what I want you to do is I want you to, on your own, you can listen now, but later on, just to take a piece of paper and a pen and have everything shut down around you. And if you have a faith in God, you can talk to God, but also just write down, like, why do you have to beat this? If there's an answer for you, why do you have to succeed? What will your life look like when you do succeed? So for myself, when I was just 28 years old, like I had two small children under the age, like 3 and under, and a young husband. We had just been married just a few years. So my big why was that I wanted to raise my family. I wanted to be a partner with my husband. That was really my two biggest whys at that time. I didn't have a big career. I was kind of from the generation that I just wanted to get married and I wanted to have a family. I wanted to be a mother. And those are really wonderful things. And I'm not discrediting them at all. I'm just saying that nowadays it's like a lot of us have to work on top of that. And it's such an incredibly rewarding career to be able to raise a family and to invest in them and to just make the home life, special. So for me, like I intended not to be in a wheelchair. Like I thought, I don't care what it takes, I'm just going to figure it out. And when your intention is really clear, so for me, it was like somehow, I don't know how, I didn't know much about MS. I knew it was an incurable disease. I know the experts told me that I'd be in a wheelchair, But I just had such a desire to get my life back, to raise my children, to be a mother, to be a wife. I didn't know I'd be a coach. I didn't know I was going to do all these other things, but that was my why at the time, was I wanted to raise my family. And so whatever your why is, like what just gets down to your heart and your soul, and it burns in you that it's something that you want to do. Maybe your family is older and maybe it's you've wanted to do volunteer work. Maybe it's something that you've been passionate about. Maybe it's being an artist. Like one lady had to give up art lessons and she was single, and I helped nurse her back to health. She didn't have MS, she had something else. She was bedridden and she was giving art lessons again. So whatever your big why is, why do you have to succeed? Why do you have to beat this? And in order to coach people, like I've done a lot of coaching, I've been coached a lot in business. And one of my coaches, I can't remember how many pages, but I had to write down why. Why did I have to do this? Like, how is this going to impact the people that I serve? Like, and so like I literally wrote out pages and pages, like there was probably 4 or 5 pages of how this would impact my students and getting their life back. Just, even with the people I've worked with, how this would impact my life, how this would impact my children's life, how this would impact, different agencies and groups and nonprofits that I could support and what I could do. And when you build an intention that strong and a why that strong, Brian Clemmer, who's a professional development coach, he's like, the how-to, the mechanism will show up. So in the early days, going back to, my strong intention was to somehow not get into a wheelchair and to not become disabled. And I wanted to raise my family. That was my big intention and why, to beat this. I didn't know how. I didn't think you could beat MS back in 1988. I had no idea. So, but because I was so determined, and that's a big important word, is determination. And those are my most successful students, is that when they join up in this Live Disease Free Academy working with me, they're like, Pam, I've already decided that I am going to beat this. I remember one of our students recovering from PLS, which is another incurable disease. She's like she was writing her success even before she had succeeded. And that's what it takes to beat, because these diseases, we suffer so much with them. And we're really told, our whole society is telling us that we don't have a future and we don't have, there is no answer. So we have to have that, like, no, I'm going to do this. And so for me, I was 28 years old. I had no idea really what MS was. I knew it was awful. I knew that they said I'd be disabled, but I didn't know that there was a cure. But because I was so determined and my intention was so clear what I wanted to do, my why was so strong, that eventually I found the truth. I found the full truth that MS is an infectious disease. And it wasn't just Candida. Those were the early days. I learned about Candida, and then I learned about Lyme disease, and now we've learned a lot about different types of parasites and bacterial and worms and protists and fungi. So that is what can happen when your intention and your why are very clear and very strong. So if you write out a little 3 sentences about why you have to succeed, it's like, it's mediocre. If you can actually take a whole page, like go beyond, like, when I beat this, okay, this is what I want to do with my family. This is what I want to do for traveling. This is what I want to do for nonprofit, for volunteer work. This is the kind of profession I want to do. This is who I want to serve. This is what I want to create. Whatever it is, but if you start to dig deep into that, it gets you so excited, it motivates you, and it inspires you to push you forward, so that through the first tough times, when you're starting to work through the plan and you're giving up sugar and you're giving up caffeine and you've got a headache and sugar withdrawals, etc., that pushes you through the first week or two until you start to notice your own successes, and then you have a lot more motivation. So that intention and that why is really important. Some people like to do dream boards. They like to put together. So I still have a dream of having a horse. I had a horse when I was a young child. And it's not that I can't have a horse right now. I'm just choosing to still postpone it off a little bit yet. We're in an area where we can have a horse, but we don't have the fences up yet. And I have to make sure I have time for a horse, right? And it's something I can do with my granddaughters. So it's all coming together. But the key is to have these clear intentions and whys. And then you'll find that the how to, you didn't know how to do something, you didn't know how to succeed at something, but it's going to show up. And it's a very powerful, powerful exercise. So now let's talk about limiting beliefs. So we do have a belief system, and some of the beliefs that we have are good and they serve us. But some of them are really called limiting beliefs because they keep us stuck in old, ineffective ways of thinking. There really are reasons, we call them reasons, but they are our excuses why we don't do what we know that we should do. And it's hard for us to see them. Like, we don't see them because we're really running on our subconscious. So we're not consciously making these choices. It's just like patterns that we've developed over time. So our good beliefs, we want to keep them, and we're not talking about those, but it's the ones that really prevent us from living the life that we want to live. How can we find them? So what we do is we look at, sometimes there's something like a wellness wheel, and in that we could rate ourselves 1 out of 10. So rate yourself in things like your work, so your career, rate 1 out of 10. And so 10 is awesome and 1 is really pathetic. Maybe your health, rated 1 out of 10. Your relationships, 1 out of 10. Your socializing, friendships, community, 1 out of 10. So go through all the different, your spirituality, your faith, whatever it is, where is it? 1 out of 10. So the limiting beliefs are usually hiding in the low scores of the really important parts of our life. So you just kind of go through all the different areas, and maybe there's, post education or professional development or just whatever different areas that you can think of. You can probably look that up too and rate yourself, and then look in the areas where you have low scores. And that's usually where you can find some limiting beliefs. So these limiting beliefs, I just want to go through some really important things. Let's see here. I've got some great notes. So there's a couple of quotes that I wanted to share with you from Brian Clemmer. And this was one of my coaches many, many years ago. And in his book, it's "If how-tos were enough, we would all be skinny, rich, and happy." He shares that most people do not do what they're told to do, nor do they do what they know is best or good for them. People behave according to fundamental beliefs or subconscious thinking. You do not make 99% of your decisions, your programs, or your beliefs do. They make them for you. Even if you think you are choosing, your subconscious or your belief system makes the vast majority of your decisions. Unless you interfere with your belief system, which is where you make most of your decisions, you are going to stay the same. You're not going to be able to change. This is very powerful, this next statement. We can only change when we see the high cost or price that we're paying for our behavior. So we're only going to change when we see the high cost or price of a certain way that we're thinking or behaving. So another really wonderful coach explained it like if you are like you're a chocolate covered M&M. Okay, so that's not healthy at all, but it's a really great analogy. So you are the peanut. So you're a peanut M&M. So you're the peanut inside, and around the outside of the peanut, there's a coating of chocolate. And that coating of chocolate is your thinking. So that's the closest to you. It is your belief system. It's how you view the world and everything around you. So then the next coating of chocolate are your feelings. So you have your thinking, you have your feelings, and then on the very outside, the candy coating on the peanut M&M, that is the behavior. So if we really want to change a behavior, we have to, like, you can't change a behavior and make it stick usually. It's much more difficult, especially ones that are very established, ones that really impact our life. So if you find those really low scores in your life, the way that you can actually change your behaviors, you have to actually go to your thinking. So the first step is to look at areas in your life that have low scores. And then you want to ask yourself, what do I tell myself to keep this low score in this area of my life? So what kind of things am I telling myself? What are my reasons for this low score? And when you can identify your limiting belief, then, and maybe you want to write this down. So pick out your limiting beliefs as you find them. We're going to go through a few examples. Then I want you, the next step is to say, what is the benefit of holding on to this belief? And yes, there is always a benefit. Even if it's a self-destructive belief, there is a reason that we're holding on to it, or else we wouldn't. So what's the limiting belief? What is the benefit of holding on to it? And then what is the cost? So let's look at a few different examples here. So some different limiting beliefs that I've heard in the past from students and myself would be, and we all have them. It's just that the more that we can identify them, then the more it's like, oh, this is ridiculous, right? And that's the key. So number one, I don't like veggies. Number two, I can't give up sugar. I can't give up wine. I can't give up pizza. I can't give up beer. What is your vice? What can't you give up? I can't afford to be healthy. I don't know how to. I don't have a relationship because, what is the reason? I don't visit with friends because MS, because what is your reason? I don't have time to exercise. I don't deserve it. That would be really tough. I don't deserve it. I don't have the willpower to accomplish this. I'm not disciplined enough. My body type is genetic. I was born this way. There's nothing I can do about it. Any change I make will be minor and barely noticeable. I have a tendency to fail at things like this. So I know that this is really personal, and you don't have to type it in the comment box if you want to be brave and do that if there's something that really resonates with you. But otherwise, write it on that piece of paper. Really important. I don't have the time. I know some of these are mine for sure. And I mentioned this one. I have a tendency to fail at things like this. This is just going to be like the last time I tried and I failed. I'm lazy. I'm selfish. If I focus on improving myself like this, how about this one? I'm too old. So those are just a few limiting beliefs. So go through the areas in your life where you're really not happy with where you're at. And then start to say, okay, what am I telling myself that that is my reason, my excuse for staying in this position? Write that out. Then right to the right of it, what is the benefit? Why have I been telling myself this? What is the benefit? Does it keep me safe? Is it easier? Whatever it is, I don't have to have rejection. And then what is the cost of holding on to that belief, right? And there is a big cost. And when we discover the cost of this belief, it loses its power and we can move forward. So this is a really wonderful activity that we do in the Live Disease Free Academy in our lesson 4. And it really frees people up to start to live their life. And we can use this again, not just in health, but in every aspect of our life. It is so, so important. All right, I think that is it for all my notes there. So Brian Clemmer, again, he says that we can only change. So there might be certain things that we want to change in our life, right? Certain areas that are really suffering. Maybe it's our health. right? And so what are we telling ourselves? And he said, the only way that we will change is if we really see the high cost or the price of our behavior. And then we are able to change. And of course, it's easier to if you have support, if you have a coach. I mean, coaching helps us to reach our goals so much more quickly, and a community. And that's what we do in the academy. But I just wanted to share this with you because what I see in coaching people in their health is that our belief system is, for some people, it's really what holds them back. It's really what slows them down. It's really what robs us of the life that we want to have. And there's so much to this. I'm just scratching the surface. There's all this, controlling negative thought too, and reprogramming ourselves. So there's so much to this topic, but it really helps us to live, instead of this life of being a victim, to having a life of abundance of love, an abundance of just experiences and serving other people and just having connections and relationships and being really fulfilled, even in our relationship with God or whatever spirituality you have. It really makes a huge difference. Our life goes by so quickly. I just turned 60 this year. I can't believe it. And so it's a race. It's a race to really live abundant lives. And the mindset part is so important. It is a whole lesson in the Live Disease Free Academy, because if people, and even things like diets, like it's so, one person just recently, just thinking that, I have to eat vegetarian. I can't. And so that's a belief system. And yes, if it is to do with animal rights, etc., that is fine if that's what they want to do. But the key is that simple thing, we have to really reflect on it and say, okay, why am I doing this? And if I continue to eat a lot of carbs and I'm feeding the infections and I lose my life, like, is there some way that I can get around this, right? If you want to get better, you'll find what works for you, is what I'm trying to say. So that is a really powerful. I'm going to go to your questions here. So yes, Deanne, it is so much truth. It is extremely powerful. I never in a million years thought I would ever teach over 700 students in the Live Disease Free Academy. We have students from over 50, and it's probably closer to 20 countries now. I never in a million years thought I would ever, and even beating multiple sclerosis. And this is all possible because, number one, I have a huge faith in God. I ask for a lot of help, but I've also been coached a lot, and coaching really helps us to reach our goals so much more quickly. And that is really why I have been able to serve so many people, why we have many people that have recovered from all kinds of chronic diseases, not just MS. And it's just so wild. So it's not just me, but it's other people too recovering, which is so cool. Hi, Aurora. Hi, Michael. Awesome. So happy that you're here. Hi, Tennille. Great. So you have an appointment with your biological dentist tomorrow, Aurora. That's awesome. So Joanne I was septic because of the meds and the doctors don't believe it. So this is, Joanne, where you have to, take this lesson that we shared today and really look at, why am I still following a certain healthcare practice that is not serving me? Why am I still with that? If the doctors are not listening to you, if the drugs are making you sick, if you are getting sicker and sicker and more disabled, take some time, self-reflection tonight, and just, what are you telling yourself to stay in that way of treating what you're dealing with? Because it's not serving you, and there is an answer for you. There's a much better way. Hi, Emily, you're in Calgary. Yes, absolutely. You can arrange a meeting. So for those of you that have just met me and you don't know much about this whole process, what you need to do is, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, YouTube Live Disease Free. We have a channel. You can watch some different videos about the infections that cause MS and other chronic diseases. You can learn about the diet. You can just watch things. But if you're at that place, you're like, Pam, I've been following you. I really believe I'm dealing with infections. I need a coach. I need a step-by-step plan to recover. And we do everything like what's relevant today in this crazy world that we're living, how to maneuver through this whole virus thing that we're dealing with, all of that, and all the other things that go with it, which I can't say the names or else we're censored. But that is what we do in the Live Disease Free Academy. So if you're at that place where you're like, Pam, I want your support, I want to learn about the Academy, there will be a link to our masterclass training, my masterclass training, in the feed. You can listen to it. You can book a time to chat with me. You can become a wellness champion. We just had Mary join the other day, yesterday, I believe. So we have new students joining all the time and building the plan. What I've noticed is that, just a little hint. So in this day that we're dealing with this virus that we're dealing with, we're seeing that the people that are the most out of balance with their microbes, the ones that have the comorbidities, the autoimmune disease, so they have these chronic silent infections, they're the ones that do not fare as well as other people, because these infections, they suppress our immune system. They make it so that our immune system is not able to deal with all kinds of other viruses as well. So there has never been a better time to put our microbiome back in balance, and that's what we do. And that is how people become symptom-free. That's how they recover, because MS is an infectious disease. It is caused by infections in the body. And as you treat them, I can't promise full recovery because I have no control over what people implement. But if you implement really well, you follow the steps, you will have more recovery than you thought possible. You can stop the disease. A lot of people have full recovery. And people that have been very disabled for a long period of time are able to start walking again. Of course, it is with crutches, and it's like very few steps and building muscles back. And it takes time. It's work. It's not a cakewalk for people that have been disabled for a long time. But the exciting thing is that there is so much more recovery that we can have that we ever thought possible. I'm so glad you enjoyed this, Bonnie. I hope it inspired you. I want all of you to just block out the world after you're done with me for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and write out your intention. What do you intend to do? Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to follow through with your intention? And then start to look at areas in your life that you're not too happy with. Write them out. And then think, why? What reasons do I give myself to keep this low score? And then what are the benefits and what are the costs? All right. And if you are ready to join, if you want to know more about the Academy, then watch my masterclass training. At the very end, you can book a time to chat with me. If you have questions, you can just join also. But I'm super excited to support you. And if you're just at the place where you would like to just learn more about this whole process, like, really, Pam, we can really treat infections and stop disease and get our life back? Yes, you can. Watch my videos on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe and like. And please, if you found this training that I shared with you to be inspirational and helpful, please like it and share it with others. Let's get a whole new wellness revolution. Let's work on treating the cause, empowering people to treat the cause. That's what we do in the Live Disease Free System, Plan, Academy, etc. So until next week, take care and bye-bye for now.